Poor Monty. Suddenly, Monty the Mule felt an itch at the top of his left back leg. "I'll soon get rid of that," he said, and lashed out with his tail. However, the itch didn't go. Monty lashed out again and again and again, but the itch still wouldn't go. He tried to get at it with his teeth, and he went round and round in circles, but he just could not reach the spot. In desperation, Monty ran to the nearest wall, and he started rubbing his side against it. "Oh," he said, "that's better." But the relief didn't last long. Once again he cried out because now the top of his right back leg began to itch. He threw himself on the ground and rolled about, whirling up clouds of dust. When that didn't work, he jumped up and galloped as fast as he could to the meadow of the 3 oak trees. When he found 2 trees growing close together, he wedged himself between them and rubbed his itching body against their trunks. "Oh, that feels much better, much, much better." What a sad story this is, because no sooner did Monty begin to feel better when his body began to itch. He ran wildly through the meadow, butting trees in his despair. In the end, he stood there exhausted, helpless and miserable, with tears flowing down his face. This is how Penelope the penguin and Polly the pelican found him when they went for their walk in the meadow of the 3 oak trees. Poor Monty. What could Penelope and Polly do to make him feel better? They tried everything possible. They lent a scratching beak and a soothing wingtip, but all their efforts had no effect. But then Penelope had an idea. "Polly," she said, "stay here and try and keep Monty's mind off his itch. I shall run off and fetch Dr. Klug. He is such a clever man. I'm certain he'll be able to help." And with that she turned round quickly and she ran off. A few minutes later, Penelope came rushing back, followed by Dr. Klug, who took slow, long steps, trying to look important. He stared at Monty and said, no doubt at all. This is the itch. But don't worry, I'll soon have you better." With that he pulled out a bottle of red powder and sprayed it all over Monty. "Now then," he said, "keep perfectly still and you'll soon feel more comfortable." Monty stood perfectly still long after Dr. Klug had gone, but the red powder did not work. Penelope went off again to fetch Dr. Klug. Dr. Klug looked at Monty in dismay and said, no doubt at all. This is the ooch, a new disease which I discovered. Shortly I will expect to be honoured because I have also discovered the cure for this disease. So don't worry, I'll soon have you better." He pulled out a bottle of blue powder and sprayed it all over Monty. "Now then," he said, "keep perfectly still and you'll soon be more comfortable." Monty stood perfectly still long after Dr. Klug had gone, but the blue powder did not work. Penelope went off again to fetch Dr. Klug. Dr. Klug looked at Monty with a large frown and said, no doubt at all. This is the touche, the very latest of diseases which I have discovered. Shortly I expect to be honoured by the Prime Minister himself because I have also discovered the cure for this disease. So don't worry, I'll soon have you better." With that, he pulled out a bottle of green powder and sprayed it all over Monty. "Now then," he said, "keep perfectly still and you'll soon be more comfortable." Monty stood perfectly still, long after Dr. Klug had gone, but the green powder didn't work. Monty began to cry, and Penelope and Polly were desperate. Just at that moment, a heavy cloud, which was sailing proudly across the sky, burst open and sent heavy rain pouring down to earth. It soaked Monty right through and washed off the green powder, the blue powder, and the red powder as well. It must have washed off a few layers of the dust with it, because after he dried himself in the sun, Monty smiled again. The itch and the utch and the tutch had all disappeared. On their way home, Penelope said to Polly, "You know, Polly, I shall make sure I have a shower every day. It certainly seems to prevent many diseases."